Welcome to the Word for 2021. Today we're in Judges chapter 6. In this chapter it begins, again the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. They followed the pattern that we're going to be seeing throughout the book of Judges. They sinned. They did evil in the sight of the Lord. Then they suffered. In this chapter we read that they suffered under the Midians for 7 years. But in verse 6, it says that Midian so impoverished the Israelites that they cried out to the Lord. They prayed. And then God sent a prophet to explain to them exactly why they were suffering the way that they were. Then God went to Gideon to be their deliverer. So they sinned and they suffered. Then they prayed, and God responded by sending a deliverer. In verse 12, an angel comes to Gideon. Now Gideon is threshing wheat in the winepress. He's hunkered down so nobody can see what he's doing. He was doing everything he could to protect what little he had. And the angel greets him by saying, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior. Now go in the strength that you have." Well, how does Gideon respond? He says, "I am the weakest in my tribe. I'm the least in my family." Gideon did not see himself as God saw him. And isn't that true? God always sees our potential more than we ever do. But with God, anything is possible. And God saw who Gideon really could be, just like God sees who you and I really can be if we will trust him. So Gideon responds, and what does he do? He worships the Lord. After he worships God, then God tells him to do the next step in his journey. He says he wants him to go and get rid of the altars that his father has set up to foreign pagan gods. Well, Gideon, he does exactly what God tells him to do, but he does it at night because he's afraid of his father and the townspeople. Gideon obeys and he puts God first. He does exactly what God tells him to do, even though he knows and is expecting a backlash. He's afraid of his father and the townspeople, so again, he does it at night. Gideon, he obeys in spite of opposition. Now Gideon, God chose him, but he was not a perfect man. He had many flaws and faults. He had a lot of fears. He feared the Midianites. He even feared for his own life because he saw the angel face to face. He feared his father. He feared the townspeople, and he feared that God's promise would not come to pass. So he did a fleece experiment 2 different times. Gideon worried about many things, but he was honest before God every single time. And he was willing to be obedient. And because of those 2 things, God provided exactly what he needed every time. Gideon reminds us that God can quiet our fears and our doubts when we offer up our obedience to him, and we simply do what he tells us to do, one step at a time. If we're obedient to God, anything is possible. And God believes in you, and he believes in me, and he wants us to step out in faith, trusting and believing that God will do what he said he will do. Thank you for joining the Word for 2021.